Hey babes, welcome to the Boss Babe Mindset podcast, a podcast for women looking to step into their power so that they can develop confidence and manifest abundance into their lives. Today's podcast is all about gender roles and how to step outside gender roles so that you can live your best life. Let's go ahead, jump right into this podcast. First and foremost, I'll define what a gender role is. A gender role is something that your culture has specified for either a male or a female to do. So, for example, during the 1950s, women were predominantly housewives whose role in life was to take care of children and take care of the household, make sure everything was clean, make sure everything in the children's lives were in order, and also take care of her husband, make sure everything in his life was taken care of. So that it would include the laundry, that dinner was ready when the husband got home, the kids had their lunch packed, and that they were taken care of when it came to school functions, so that was a big gender role in the time. And then also in that era, predominantly the father, the male figure, would go to work. He was the breadwinner, so to speak. He'd go out, provide for the family, and ensure that everything was taken care of. Make sure that that the mom could go out and buy clothes for the kids and buy groceries, just make sure the money is there. And I bring out this era because a lot of the gender roles that came from this, the 1950s, 1960s, and so on, have transpired into today's day and age. But on the same token, a lot of things in life have changed, and most women are not able to, just out of pure inflation, most women are not able to stay home with their children and fulfill these same gender roles. As much as people make jokes about how women should stay in the kitchen or, take care of the family, whatever, it's just not the reality that it used to be back in that same time frame. And my grandparents would argue that it was a happier time, a more simple time, and I could see that, where the gender roles were very defined, things were a certain way, no one questioned authority, and things were how they were. Things started to shift a little bit when you got into the 1960s, then people started to, and 70s as well, people started to question authority, the roles of things changed, women wanted more rights, and, things have transpired to where they are today, where women are still fighting to have equality in the workforce and break those glass ceilings and be more of themselves. And the reason why I wanted to bring this topic up was, especially if you are a woman in this day and age, it's hard being a woman. You still have to work around certain gender roles, and predominantly males are supposed to be the more aggressive ones, the ones to speak up, whereas women are supposed to be quiet and, and just be submissive and allow things to be. And I see that a lot, even today in the workforce. Luckily, my higher up, she is a strong woman, so I have someone that I can really look up to, but that's not the case for a lot of people, so I just, in pure luck, I have it there. But I also bring it up too because I do a lot of acrobatic yoga, and in acrobatic yoga, there is a base and then there's a flyer, okay? And predominantly, men are the bases. They carry the women on their feet, on their hands, on their shoulders, whatever. The ones basing, very similar to cheerleading. And then women are the ones predominantly that fly, And what I love about the acro yoga community in Orlando is, yes, things are typically that way, but if we're in a situation when there are more flyers than bases or more bases than flyers, people just play and make things work based on who's there. There is no, it's kind of awesome, actually. The gender roles don't really get in the way in those situations. People will just be like, well, I don't normally do this, but I'll do it anyway. You know, that's why I love this community, because people are so open about different things. They don't allow these gender roles to stand in the way. They're just like, well, I'm not really comfortable with that, but I'm going to go for it anyway. And it's helped me adopt that similar attitude too. Like, I'm typically a flyer, but if someone says, hey, can you base me? I'm like, sure. You know, the only way I'm going to get better anyway is to practice and to, you know, go beyond that gender role and step outside of myself. And that has a lot to do, you know, breaking these gender roles has a lot to do with stepping outside of your comfort zone as well. You know, it all comes back to breaking through fear and going to the other side of your comfort zone, because it can be very uncomfortable when your culture tells you something and it's just something that you have adopted as this is just the way that things are. You know, that can be scary to be like, well, fuck that, I'm just gonna go and do something else anyway. You know, that's scary for people. A lot of people, you know, they listen to authority and they don't want to break through these different roles, and so they don't, and they never try different things. They stay in the same places, stay complacent. Totally fine if you're happy there, but I'm here, I guess, today to challenge you to not allow gender roles to stop you from trying new things, or don't allow them to prevent you from taking your life to the next level or going after the things that you want to do. Like, if there's something you really want to try or do with your life, or you want to better yourself, go for it. Like, nobody's stopping you except for yourself. You know, that cultural general, yes, like, you have to break through that, but ultimately, if you build up enough courage and push past that fear, you're able to just go for the things that you want to go for in life. I was reading up on Marilyn Monroe a little bit earlier today, and what an inspiration she is to women. Like, what a strong, independent woman. And I was reading in her biography that there was a time where she had a contract with Fox Productions to do a few movies. And at one point in time, she refused to fulfill that contract unless it was revised. You know, she said, I won't make any more movies for you, Fox, until you give me a pay raise. And she was very insistent on that, stuck to her guns, which was very unheard of in that time. You know, the 1950s, 1960s, to have these strong women, you know, speak up and stand up for themselves. But what an awesome woman for just saying, fuck that, just because I'm a woman. You think you can get away with paying me less, but she said, absolutely not. I'm worth more than that. And I loved reading that part of her story, because it just goes to show you that even in a time where women were just not supposed to be outspoken and were just meant to stay in the kitchen and, you know, take care of families. Also, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But she wanted to be a career woman, and she just showed the world that just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you have to fulfill certain gender roles. You can do whatever you want with your life. And the same goes for men. You know, same exact thing for men. Just because we say that a gender role needs to be specified for a man, it doesn't mean that you can't do things that women do. Like, you're hearing about this more and more now in this day and age of stay-at-home dads. Like, that was unheard of back in the day. Like, and now that's becoming more of a popular thing, where the mom is actually making a lot more money in her career, and so she allows herself to provide for the family, and the dad will actually stay at home with the kids. It's crazy how much things have progressed and how things changed throughout time. But yeah, getting back to Marilyn Monroe, I mean, Fox finally gave in, and I thought that was the coolest part of her story. She was so insanely popular and influential in that time that they actually gave in, revised her contract, agreed to pay her whatever it was that she wanted to be paid, and as you could see, she was highly successful, She did not allow the fact that she was a woman stand in the way of anything in her life. She just went for it anyway, and so I like to bring this topic up. It's so important to not let the cultural conditioning stand in the way of being who you were meant to be. You know, you should still fight through these different barriers and these uphill battles. It's going to happen for anyone, no matter what you're trying to do, but don't allow these certain things to stand in your way. You know, it's just something that your culture says. It's not the end of the world. No one's gonna hate you or throw rocks at you because you decide to do this. And even if they do, push through it anyway. If you want it badly enough, prove it. Like, keep going, push forward, and you can get whatever you want and desire out of life. It's such a very beautiful thing. Thank you all so much for watching this week's podcast or listening to this week's podcast. Until next time, namaste.